What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala,
Ba 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 ba.
your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with a touch of what, Terrence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man. Like not recording for like 3 days already feels like a lifetime, man.
Yeah. And I mean, I promised that I'll do this every Monday, but Monday we released our podcast interview with Alvin Tan. Mr. Alvin Tan. Check it out if you haven't already. Generating a bit of interest online as I can tell. But I always do this every Monday, which is, Harish, let's check in on how is wedding prep coming along on a scale of 1 to 10. How are you feeling about it?
I would say on Monday it was about a 7. Up till maybe about 1 hour before this podcast, it was a 4. But then before we started this podcast, I would say back to about a 6.5.
6.5. Oh,
6.5.
Kind of went down. Yeah, a bit like, this not changing as fast as the weather these days. But
man. Yeah.
Can you explain without too much detail, like what caused it to go down to 4, like it crashed like crypto, you
know? Actually, no. I would say at the start of the week there was a bit of 4. Then it was creeping up. By maybe yesterday it was like, okay, 7. Today it was a 4 again, and then creeping up. I would say a mix of logistical issues and human issues. Yes, logistical and human.
When you say logistical, you mean like supply chain issues,
like vendors,
Russia war, that kind of thing.
The what?
Or like the war in Russia, the war in Ukraine. Supply chain issues, PS5 shortage, that kind of logistical.
Now whatever I say is going to seem like a fucking first world problem, as there are wars happening there, and I'm like, one vendor pulled out, and there were some issues, and then we have to scramble. But yeah, apart from that, I'm genuinely quite excited. I think the people attending the wedding are excited. It's just these niggling things that come up.
Yeah. Trying to iron out
and
all
really
these
just curveballs. Curveballs.
Yeah.
And then today on
you're saying 6.5 right now. Right now 6.5.
Yeah, now 6.5. And okay, today honestly in the morning, I don't understand when your MacBooks or something just start making a lot of noise on the fan and it just slows down ridiculously. I don't know whether it's the latest update or whether people face this on a routine basis, but holy shit, man. Today my computer was just taking a stroll.
Yeah. To be fair, the MacBook is almost 10 years old already. Yeah, I believe so. I believe it's almost 10 years old already. Yeah.
So Apple, if you're looking for a podcast to sponsor.
Yeah, this is it. But
this is it, man.
Yeah. It's been not only the wedding and then your wedding, I'm sure the other big event in your life also is the World Cup having started over the weekend as well, right?
Yeah,
for everyone. Yeah.
Have you been watching it?
Bits and pieces when I can, but I've made a decision that I'm going to forego all the 3 a.m. matches unless it's the final or semi-finals. That's it.
Executive decision.
Executive decision. Plus, I've been just watching a lot of videos about Qatar hosting the World Cup, as recommended by some of the listeners and all. Then I got very mixed feelings about this World Cup for sure.
Tainted, is it?
Tainted, slightly, yeah.
Tainted. I mean,
but you're saying you haven't been watching, is it?
I haven't been watching as much as I would like to. I have been watching highlights. I mean, the latest upset that happened yesterday was the Argentina losing to Saudi Arabia. Holy mama.
Yeah, big
holy
one,
mama.
big match.
Yeah,
but well deserved, well deserved by the Saudis.
Yeah,
they did well. Yeah.
So I mean, it's still exciting, Still exciting. Yes.
Yeah, but I think there's the atmosphere that we haven't felt in a while from big global sporting events, right? So I'm not totally against a World Cup in November. And then towards the end of the year and all that. Actually, it's been quite interesting feeling. I mean, and then plus your wedding and all that building up as well. It must be whirlwind of emotions right now, huh?
A little bit. I would still prefer the World Cup during summer because now, imagine all these people's Christmas, they cannot just let go. I mean, for some people, it'll be the most amazing Christmas if you win the World Cup. Yeah. But I don't know about the end of year World Cup. I don't know.
That's why everyone has got mixed feelings about it, I feel. But yeah, But this is not a podcast about sports.
Yeah, that's why.
So
Yeah,
let's bring back
all
all
weddings.
the non-sports people. Yeah. But before we jump to our topics, like what do we want to plug?
Just our podcast. As we come towards the end of another year of doing Yalabat. I don't know how many episodes we released this year, but probably I don't know, like 100 maybe at least.
We're closing in on 350 in total. Yeah.
Closing into 350. So if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, or if you recently come across it and you think, oh, this is pretty interesting, it would be great if you could share the love and tell at least one other person who may not have heard of us before. So just give it a shot. Just give it a shot. That's all. Just play it when you're at dinner or when you're visiting them or in the morning. Just send them a WhatsApp to one of our episodes.
Sure. All right. Yes. Shall we?
Thanks for the enthusiasm,
jump into
Terrence.
the first topic? Huh?
Yes. Never mind. It's okay. We've moved on. We've moved on.
Yes. Okay. Our first topic is something our neighbors in the north have all been fretting about, like, while we worry about World Cup and weddings. They're also worried about they're also worried about political turmoil in the country, right? And what is this topic about?
Topic, right, is the Malaysian elections, which feels like every few months Malaysian politics just seeps into our head and digs a worm in our brains, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Right.
To be fair, you and I, we don't follow Malaysian politics very closely, right? But I feel I feel like every 6 months we kind of have to do a revision course like that, to again understand how everything works in Malaysia, right? It's like every 6 months or so there's some political upheaval, especially in the last couple of years, that has forced us to, like, okay, let's read up as much as we can again about how things work in Malaysia. And then then I always get shocked by the king decides, like, who's the prime minister and all that, in these kind of processes. So it always shocks me. It always surprises me, even though I've experienced it like multiple times already.
Which is where we're at right now. Like today, 23rd November, Wednesday, the latest update as of yesterday was that Malaysia's king will be the one to pick the next prime minister. Like when Terrence said that, if you haven't been keeping track, it sounds ridiculous, right? This supposedly ceremonial king is going to be picking the next prime minister. And there were a lot of things that led up to that, which we're going to try and unpack and unravel. But I won't deny, as I was having my 4 out of 10 moments of wedding planning before this, and we were doing the Malaysian elections, I was like, fuck, so much to read. But I mean, if you're keeping track,
all this does affect your wedding somewhat, right, tangentially, because you got a lot of relatives
in Malaysia.
Yeah, coming from Malaysia, and probably their moods and everything will be affected by what's happening in politics as well, right?
I mean, the feeling I get is like on first impression, they're almost used to it. Of course, there might be bigger repercussions of like the economy and like just the policies and all that. But now, from what I see in the WhatsApp groups and all, it's just like the memes. Like my aunties are sharing memes. No, that's what it has come to. My aunties are sharing memes of Malaysian politics because for them, it's almost like this is the norm. If there wasn't political drama, it wouldn't feel like Malaysia. And I'm like, oh shit. It's like the converse in Singapore, right?
But maybe the root cause of your laptop dying earlier was the opening of multiple tabs to try and understand what is going on in Malaysia, right?
You know how
I'm sure you have all these tabs lined up.
No, you know how heartbreaking it was to not be able to open up as many tabs as I needed or not. I felt like fucking immobilized, man.
You have to drop from like 50 to like 20 or something like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. But okay, where let me just try and give like a high level summary of this, and hopefully if you're listening also and you haven't been following this, will give you enough context to at least get an idea of what's going on. So I guess we don't need to go all the way back to Malaysian politics, but it's just these past few years, starting in like 2018 was when there was a surge of like this drama and political instability. I'm not saying there wasn't before, but like there was the elections that were held in 2018. It resulted in the first change of government in Malaysia's history since they started having direct elections in 1955. So previously it was always Barisan Nasional, right? But then Pakatan Harapan won. So they won 113 seats out of around 222. So there were they won, and Mahathir became prime minister, and okay lah, it was running, confirm got teething issues and all. But then in 2019 and 2020, so 20 to 20, this was all in parallel with the whole 1MDB scandal lah, right? So the 1MDB scandal brought like Malaysian political drama to the international stage. So and the party that was involved, so UMNO, which was led by Najib, there was a lot of drama there. But then in 2020, right, that's when there were that's when like the politics all went crazy lah. In February 2020, there was a big shakeup, and Mahathir, who was then PM, he resigned. And then Muhyiddin was appointed. And then there was a new coalition called Perikatan Nasional. So all these terms, right, we're going to try and refresh your memory every once in a while. But Muhyiddin was prime minister who took over from Mahathir. And then there was in parallel with COVID. So there was all this shit happening. And then there was like increasing tension all the way till the middle of 2021 when Muhyiddin lost support over mainly COVID lah. And then he resigned. And then the new PM, Ismail Sabri Yaakob, was appointed. And then there was like a lot of like instability, and there were calls for a snap election lah. So he was getting pressured by the Barisan Nasional, which was on his side, the UMNO, and in the end, he announced the dissolution of parliament on 10th October 2022. And that resulted in this election. And I think they have 60 days to choose the next government, which means December 9th is the ultimate cutoff lah. So, since then, they did have the elections. And when the elections ended last weekend, for the first time ever also, there was a hung parliament in Malaysia, which just means that there was no single party that got the majority of votes in the Malaysian parliament, which was total number of seats 222. They just needed 113 to become the government, and none of them had enough seats. And one of them is led by Anwar, and one of them is led by who is the shit, I was doing so well. Can you yeah, because the Anwar, help me out loud. Who's the other person?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up. There's a lot of names also.
yeah. It's okay, no wait, it is. Stay with me if you're listening. Stay with me. Okay, it was Muhyiddin, the former prime minister. Yeah. So
actually, Muhyiddin is he's part of the so-called opposition now, right?
Yeah,
he's heading up the opposition. And then, but you're talking about so Anwar is the head of the PH. And H actually stands for hope. That's something I've learned recently. The Malay word for hope, I believe.
Harapan.
Yeah. And then the PN is a national alliance, right? The N stands for national. So who's the head of PN in Malaysia? That's the one that we're trying to figure out, I think.
It is Muhyiddin.
Oh, BN. I thought Muhyiddin was BN.
No. Okay, so no, it is Muhyiddin, because Muhyiddin and Anwar met the king because they were the leaders of the two biggest the two votes that got the most number of seats.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And BN was who won 30 seats. They could influence whether it is Anwar's party or Muhyiddin's party that gets the majority, 113 lah.
Yeah. Well, shit, I'm super confused already by all the different parts.
That's
but yes, that's an example of how confusing it is.
Yeah. If you're
non-political students of Malaysia's politics.
If you're listening and wondering what the hell are these two people talking about, we are also trying to unpack what is happening, which was the point of us talking about this, is to bring anyone who is also as confused along with us on the journey of trying to understand.
Yes.
So back to where I was. There was Anwar and Muhyiddin who met the king on Monday. And the king was the one who said, okay, can we form like a coalition government, which means we work together to form a stable government. Anwar said, yes, he is totally fine. Muhyiddin said, no, I will not do this. So that's why the deadlock came about, and it was announced yesterday that the king will make the decision.
That's right.
Yeah. So
but
there was
I mean, when you say, sorry.
No, I mean, there was a very high level summary of what I believe has happened up till yesterday. And now, while you talk, I will verify my statements.
I think the interesting thing for me is what goes into this decision-making process by the king, right? One thing that we've all become familiar with in the last few years is that the concept of the king, the Agong, making the decision as to who will be the prime minister to lead the coalition. So my understanding is that when he calls people to the palace, it's with the understanding that the person he's appointing has the mandate of the MPs, right? Has the support and the backing of the MPs in order to form the government. So in this situation, what's happening is that there isn't a simple majority in the parliament. So he's got two parties that are competing for power right now. They're competing to say that we are the biggest winners and therefore we should be the ones to form the government, right? And there has been a lot of political jostling to see if they can form political alliances. But imagine, even after you form the political alliance, you still need to agree on who is going to be a leader of this alliance, right? Every party has their own interests. Every party has their own personalities to look after. So that's where there's a deadlock, and that's where the king is in this situation. In this situation, has to be the one to step in to say, "Hey, from what I understand, both of you have support from different parts of the country, different regions. But maybe do you have the support of the other parties as well? I think that's the thing he's trying to balance out, like whether if one party chooses one particular leader, but that leader is not able to garner support from the minority parties and everything, then there's going to be a bit of a problem, right? So it might not end up being, it might not end up going to the alliance with the most votes in the election, as you would imagine what a representative parliament would look like, right? It might end up going to the more in the king's eyes, what the more practical decision is to maybe appease various members of the parliament, right? And that's where there seems to be a lot of it's not as clear an answer as you might imagine compared to politics and other places as well, right?
Yeah, but I mean, just based on what you said about how it might not go to the party with the most number of seats, right? Can you imagine if the king selects the party that has almost like a minority support from the parliament? He might think that the leader of that party is the best person to do it. But can you imagine the rest of parliament? So it just feels, from what I've read in articles and all, the general, a norm is for a minority government that happens to be elected is to hold like a vote of confidence when parliament reopens. It's just like to say, okay, we're putting it out there. Do you support us? Do you not? It's like what Elon Musk is doing with Twitter. Are you ready to work at hardcore Twitter or not? If you're not, you get out.
Yeah.
In this case, I don't think they can kick people out of parliament, but at least they get it out of the door, right? Out on the table.
That's right.
So it just feels like, wow, this whole thing is, how is it going to get better from here? And even in the lead up, there was a lot of controversies around this election. One of which was the timing, I think certain critics have said, why do it end of year when it's monsoon season? Because in certain states, it was an issue where people couldn't turn out or turn up to vote because of floods. I think it happened in it was. I mean, flooding is an issue in Malaysia, so that impacted certain votes, and then also just it just feels it's a snap election, and And it's just just watching it, right? Like, and having these two leaders of the two parties meet the king in private, and after that the king is going to meet 30 other lawmakers to talk to them. It's happened before, because I remember saying that exact same thing on a previous podcast we did. But you look at it and you're like, wow.
Yeah. But actually, you were saying earlier that your relatives are making memes about it and all that, right? Are you saying that to them, they're sort of laughing at everything that's going on?
I think it's like, okay, so I would imagine, just based, of course, when they come down in a few weeks, I don't know whether I want to talk about Malaysian politics during my wedding. Probably not, lah. But but I think the feeling that
inviting a lot of problems.
The feeling that I've got from talking to them in the past, because I mean, I see them quite often, or at least once a year. It's almost like this is the situation they live with, and it's almost expected. And the memes, it's almost little bits of respite amongst the generally shitty situation, lah. Yeah, that's the feeling. That's the feeling I think
I think there's some memes online as well about how the Malaysian ringgit is going to drop further, like $1 to 4 Malaysian ringgit. But then there are also people saying that, hey, this is not something funny to be made fun of at this moment, right? When the country is undergoing a lot of political turmoil and all. So I'm just wondering, like, on the ground, like, how people are feeling about this whole thing. Because I think, if anything, since all the political upheaval in the last few years has just made turned a lot of people off. A lot of Malaysians, young Malaysians, I find, a lot of them have been sort of turned off by everything that's going on, right?
Yeah.
In the sense that they're not even caring already, because it's just this giant circus that is happening in front of them, lah. So I also like struggling to see how a situation like this, is inspiring. It's inspiring any young Malaysians to be excited about the future or anything like that, in a very bleak economy, in a very bleak global financial situation as well, right?
But I mean, it's interesting you say that, because it was in July 2019 that the constitution was amended to allow 18-year-olds to 20-year-olds to vote for the first time. Like, this is the first time people below 21 can vote. So as much as if you're a young person, I can imagine thinking like, why, like, Malaysia looks like it's a tricky time. It's also the first time that they can vote and actually make a difference. So
maybe.
And I mean, even I know, just based on anecdotal evidence amongst my extended family, quite a few of them see coming to Singapore to work, or even friends like coming to Singapore to work, as like, okay, it's something to aspire to. I'm not saying I'm tooting our horn or anything, but that's just based on what I've seen, lah. Because even I was just talking to someone that day. He said when he's thinking about his kids in future, does he want to bring them up in Malaysia? Probably not. And in Singapore, it's something that, okay, if you want to leave Singapore, you want to migrate, it's probably for other reasons. Like, it's like the education. There's too much like structure, and too much which is like a very different problem, lah. But you're saying like what the people must be feeling. One thing that this election also like gave rise to is because between Anwar and Muhyiddin, Anwar's party is actually multi-ethnic, and Muhyiddin's party is more conservative, right? So the one thing that I've seen some people point out is that it's the first time that an Islamic party, which like they believe in Sharia law and all, became the single biggest block in terms of number of votes. So one issue in Malaysia from the past, based on talking to my relatives, to friends, and just is the whole Bumi Putras versus what is a Malay Malaysian versus a non-Malay Malaysian. So there's now talk about how if there's a rising conservative sentiment, which we have seen in Western countries coming up in Malaysia, for the people who are non-Bumi Putras, non-Malays, that could be a concern, lah.
Yeah, it's if anything, the election results also show that the country is quite divided that way, right? It's in quite similar to a lot of other in a lot of other places where the people feel more polarized about basic issues.
Yeah. But I mean, like, how is this impacting you on a day-to-day basis?
On a day-to-day basis, I mean, not that much because we don't do a lot with Malaysia. We don't deal a lot with Malaysia in our work, and I'm not the type that travels up to Malaysia that often. But even then, it's I think if anything, we need to understand what our neighbors up north are going through right. In terms of understanding whenever whenever we talk about Malaysia or our neighbors up north, it's usually like some meme, some joke, or something right? Making fun of what's going on there. But at the same time, the peace and stability in that country is very vital even to Singapore, right? And this is not an advertisement for any particular government agency or anything. But yeah, the truth is the prosperity of politics prosperity of the country and the stability of the political structure up north is very important to our safety as well, right? So while it's not something that we keep daily tabs on, I'm sure I'm sure our government and our in our government basically, and all our government agencies are definitely keeping a close watch on what's happening there.
Yeah.
How about you?
I mean, like day to day, not much aside from I mean, none of my relatives have said, "Oh, we're not coming because of the elections." But I think earlier this year, even when there was a policy change in Malaysia that affected chickens, right? It trickled down to Singapore lah, and not to say that it was a life and death situation, but it affected whether I buy chickens or not. And I mean, I don't need to eat chicken lah, but you can imagine all those businesses that deal with chicken, they were impacted like crazy. So if there's instability there, because I think sometimes you do see the sentiment of Singapore, we don't have to deal with this shit. These people are in the north, and it doesn't matter what happens to them. No, man, it does, man. It does. Ultimately, it will trickle down, and it will impact us in many ways lah. So I think that's why for me, when you suggested this topic, I was like, okay, it's good to just understand what's going on, and try and stay in touch with it lah, as opposed to okay, I don't give a shit about what's happening there.
Yeah. And I mean, but one thing for sure is it's the end of Mahathir's involvement in the current government already, right?
Yeah.
Because he's lost his seat.
At the
So, I mean, and given his age and everything already, it's, I think it marks the close of a chapter on that story.
He's
right?
97, no. He lost his seat, and I think he was still optimistic that he wanted to stand for parliament and all, and he's 97, no. You talk about Ronaldo having longevity and all, Mahathir, 97. That's 60 years older than Ronaldo, no?
Yeah.
Oh,
and this guy has been playing 3D chess for decades already, right?
My God, that is insane. But I mean, so now the whole of Malaysia is just on the edge of their seat, lah. Or maybe they're not. Maybe they're fuck, okay, King deciding again. Okay, lah. Whatever, lah.
Let him be. Let him do it, yeah.
Yeah, it just feels...
I don't know, man. That's why interesting to hear, lah, from especially younger Malaysians, their thoughts about everything.
Or even the Malaysians in Singapore. I wonder, whether they...
Yeah.
Actually, I should ask the Malaysian friends. If you're a friend and Malaysian, or even if you're not a friend and Malaysian, it would be interesting to hear what do you guys think, man.
Yeah.
Because now, just to wrap up, when are we gonna know? When is the king going to decide?
I think he's meeting with the other rulers on, I believe, Thursday morning. And they're going to have a bigger discussion about who they should appoint. So there'll probably be more clarity after that. It does seem like both sides are jostling for what they want. I think when he came out of the meeting, he straight away said that the king was looking forward to someone who can represent the multiracial, multi-religious, the multi-regions of Malaysia as well. So he's very firmly saying that, or at least he claims that the king probably understands that Anwar probably has a stronger mandate that way, lah. Being more representative of different races and cultures within his alliance, lah, right?
Yeah. So it just feels like, I guess we can just wait and see. But hopefully this gives you a very, very high level overview of what's been happening, lah.
Yeah, and we don't be embarrassed if it's been hard to follow everything that's been going on, because as you can tell, even for us, after having read up about it,
as much as
we've also found it so confusing.
Confusing. Yeah, I hope there's a TV show in the works about this, lah.
But yes, I'm sure there will be. Yeah, but yes,
cool, man.
Closer to home, our next topic is it's about something also that I guess a lot of people, it does affect our lives directly, indirectly at least, right? Indirectly, every one of us, whether we know it or not. And what is this big topic about?
Like after talking about the political situation in Malaysia, coming to Singapore and talking about this, it's just there's a lot of comedy there, lah. But basically, there is discussions that maybe the quiet time in Singapore for neighborhoods, which currently stands at 10:30 p.m. to 7 a.m., might be extended for another 1.5 hours. And this was a recommendation by an advisory panel, which is the Community Advisory Panel on Neighbourhood Noise. They issued a recommendation about this, a bunch of recommendations, but one of the main ones was a new silent period from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m., not 10:30 to 7. 10 p.m. to 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And what?
And this is just a recommendation, right? It's not. There's no mandate. As in, even now, the noise. This is a recommendation for those hours to be quiet hours.
Correct. So, what made you want to talk about this, Terence?
No, I guess for me, it's kind of living in Singapore, where we're trying to be this global cosmopolitan city, where everything is it's a hub, it's buzzing at all hours. It's exciting to live. Global talent want to move here and live, but at the same time, there's that side that they're trying to manage is like, people wanna chill out late at night. They want to chill out at home without any noise. They don't want to have all that buzz around them, and that's trying to institute it in this way, like, where you can actually start calling the police from 10 p.m. onwards. It's just a very classic Singaporean passive-aggressive thing, lah. So I thought it's quite funny, and be interesting to hear your thoughts about it as well.
For me, the thing is, like, even right now, 10:30 to 7, does it ever occur to you that you might be doing something noisy, and like 10:25, you're like, blah, 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 blah. But like 10:35, you're like, oh shit, we have to be quiet. Does that ever happen to you? Or like 7 a.m., like 6:59, you're just waiting. 7 a.m., you just start playing loud music.
No, but let's say you're, if I'm doing some like, not drilling lah, but if I'm doing some DIY thingy at night, like putting together IKEA furniture, sometimes it definitely goes beyond 10 p.m., right? Because you can only do it after hours because you're not working or your kid's asleep and all that kind of thing. So you would be doing it past a certain time, lah. And if there happens to be one knock or two knocks, and then suddenly I get a complaint from police show up your door because you're putting together IKEA furniture at like 10-12 p.m., that'll kind of like, it'd be kind of annoying, lah, right? Wouldn't it be? Like 10:30, I understand, lah, but 10 p.m., come on, 10 p.m. is still like, it's like there's still TV to watch. There's still people coming home from having dinner outside and things like that. So, but the expectation that there shouldn't be noise from 10 to 10:30 p.m. is it feels a bit kind of outrageous to me.
It's outrageous. It's outrageous to you.
Yeah. You think about it, like you watch the World Cup now. The match starts at 9 o'clock. Second half starts at 10 p.m. Then you have to start. You cannot cheer loudly anymore already from 10 p.m. onwards. It's like kind of crazy, right? And the truth is, most of these sporting events like Premier League or World Cup and all that, they do take place at 10 or 11 p.m. usually most of the time on the weekend. So like this artificial cap at 10 p.m. just feels like it's already 10:30 is draconian enough. Really, let's not go further.
So you think
back
10:30 is draconian? For housing estate,
it is. I feel it's. But yeah, I think it's a bit early. Like, have you ever hung out with friends like past 10:30 p.m.?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Every gathering you've been to and what, you will hang out past 10 p.m. or 10:30
Correct,
p.m.
but
right?
most,
especially now that house parties are a much bigger thing because of COVID and all that, right?
But most of the time, unless it's a house party, like 10:30, you mean you would still be wanting to cheer loud, you know?
No, like so there needs to be some discretion on people as well. Like, the problem in Singapore is that we weaponize the police reporting, like, you know, and there isn't the first thought of, okay, let live and let live, like, you know, where sometimes they make noise, I make noise, you know, it happens as long as it's not severely disrupting my sleep. Let's just let it be. Because who will want that situation where you are hosting a party and all that, and then you continually have police or neighbors knocking on your door, right? So vice versa. So I feel like in Singapore, by putting these guidelines, we are encouraging people to start calling the police from 10 p.m. onwards and weaponizing the police reports against their neighbors, which I think is very unneighborly behavior. And, you know, even if it's really disturbing you, it does help to just actually even just knock on your neighbor's door and ask nicely first, right? Before resorting to calling the police.
But maybe,
so that's why I'm like, it's a tough one. Yeah.
So maybe it's just one of those things that for people who really do have super noisy neighbors, it's more to help them out. Because if you have decent relationships with your neighbor, or at least something that is not antagonistic, I would assume that you wouldn't call the police, lah. So you wouldn't even activate this, you wouldn't even play this as your trump card. But for people who really are struggling with, for whatever reason, this is something that will make things easier, lah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I mean,
but so for you, you think it's a good thing to have?
I wouldn't say it's a good thing, but to me, it's like the 10:30 to 7 a.m. thing. Even if that wasn't there, I don't think it would change my behavior. Even if there was no 10:30 to 7 a.m. means you have to be quiet. It's just okay lah. Like at night, I'll try not to be that loud. Of course, I have also organized house parties in the past where police came. So those were times where we kind of consciously knew that, okay, we are being loud, but it was a very concentrated time. But apart from that, I try not to be loud when it's late, I guess. That's why this whole 10:30 versus 10, I'm like, does it make a difference? Does it make a difference?
I guess it's because you're conscientious. You're conscientiously trying not to make noise beyond a certain hour already, right? Like definitely past 11, you are like, okay, you can't be too loud about everything and all. But sometimes the truth is there are some people who lack common sense. You know, like recently in my place, there was a group of people having a big party, and I think till 1 a.m, they were like still singing songs and all that while by the poolside, you know. So it was just like, you know what? There's only that much security, that many warning security guards can give as well before they have to call the police on them, and there's always it becomes a very unpleasant situation when the police comes, right? And maybe even more noise, more disruption and all that, right? So you kind of got to balance how you deal with that, but you know, because I think I think everyone has their own personal anecdotes about the lack of noise control in Singapore and all, but I think there is something to be said also about the fact that our infrastructure, our windows and all that don't have very good soundproofing. And I only say that because, for my kid, not too long ago, I actually installed soundproof doors, and they're like literally these, like, they look like bomb shelter doors like that, with those really heavy duty and like noise, mostly I think about 70% of the noise gets cut through the door. But the windows are still whatever the building first came with, and they're the thinnest windows ever, and noise from the car park, noise from the pool, all that still goes through. So maybe it's to do with rather than demanding that people behave themselves a certain way. Because so much of our population actually lives in public housing. Maybe the idea is to think about better soundproofing for our public housing infrastructure as well, right?
Then, I mean, that's an interesting way of looking at it. But then, then it'll become like, then the HDB prices increase, and the big reason is for soundproofing. Or when you choose your BTO,
Better.
when you choose your BTO, you can choose like whether you want hardcore soundproofing, not so much soundproofing. Maybe that to construction companies out there, have that as an upsell.
Mm-mm.
You know, have that as an upsell.
But what is the price of more harmonious neighborly living? You know, if more people could, if our police force could literally have fewer calls about a noisy neighbor and things like that, how much time and money can be saved from our taxpayers as well? Have you thought about
then you're depending on human good. And I mean, just to clarify, I wouldn't say that I'm conscientious enough to not be loud, because like I said, I have organized, when I was staying with my friends years ago, we organized a couple of house parties and they were fucking loud, dude.
Yeah.
So our neighbors probably hated us back then. But I think it's one of those things that...
No, but to clarify, what I'm saying is not is to reduce the reliance on human good, you see. I'm saying that if installing better soundproofed windows and soundproofing, maybe not windows, but let's say if you have a bar or something downstairs, make sure those places have better soundproofing than your average neighborhood store.
But then who will pay for it? Then it becomes a court thing of who pays for it, right?
Public, I mean, that's why it's public housing. But that's why I said you can save money from fewer reports to the police, fewer neighborly incidents, and mediating between neighbors.
That'll be a very tough white paper to write, Terrence. I can imagine.
Can be done. Yeah. Everything can be quantified in dollars and cents. Everything can. This is Singapore.
Can be quantified. But I mean, it's no. What they can do like vouchers, because now they got vouchers for buying environmentally friendly fridges or showers and all that. Have one for soundproof doors. Right. But I mean, you couldn't, for your place, you couldn't just put those rubber things at the edges and all and cut out. No, you need to change the door.
Yeah. I mean, it's those rubber things are very, very minimally.
But how come until like that?
I think it's very,
how come
very
until you have to change the door?
No, I mean, because the doors in my place were very old, so sound would, I mean, I have 2 dogs as well that bark very loudly. So sound travels very sound travels far in my place. It gets really it's very disruptive.
Then why not muzzle your dog?
Muzzling, so that's why you don't want to. If you don't want to have to do these kind of draconian measures, making people keep quiet from 10 p.m. onwards, that's where you find other solutions, which is to literally upgrade infrastructure in your place. Of course, not everyone will do that to their own personal cost, because it's not cheap, right? But so that's why I think society-wide, maybe it'll just be better for everyone if we had better soundproofed windows and doors.
Better soundproof windows. Then you have to wait 12 years for your BTO. So essentially,
or maybe just plan further ahead and just make sure that you get a contractor who promises you better windows.
But probably soundproofing, like what you said, is expensive, right? Because everything has to be thicker. And with that comes a whole bunch. The doors also heavier, right?
Yeah. It's not cheap.
Yeah, I mean, in my house, I can hear the thickness of the person's cough above and below me in the bathroom. And
in the bathroom, not specifically.
Yeah, because I mean, all the bathrooms are lined up together, right? So you can literally hear their cough. And I mean, right now, it's become part of the day-to-day noise. But thankfully, my area is generally a little quiet. I think the thing about this noise pollution, there's stuff that is caused by neighbors, but there's stuff that is caused just by traffic. And maybe that's something that is going to be almost unavoidable as Singapore gets more and more dense, as more and more houses come out. Wow, it's going to be tough to be that quiet, yeah. So maybe instead of soundproof doors and all that, just have sound earplugs. Every month, just give earplugs to every household in Singapore.
That's right. That's not a bad idea.
It's cheap. It is cheap. You don't need to worry about soundproofing like every door in your house or anything. You just put on earplugs.
It's like face masks like that, right?
Yeah.
Like three years ago, if you told people that wearing face masks would be a common thing, they'd all be laughing at you and like, what the hell, you're crazy. But now look at us.
And then because Singapore there's a lot of lights, so if you've got night pollution also, you just wear an eye patch. So you basically walk around your house with a mask, to prevent diseases, eye patch and earplugs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the solution.
That's the future we live in.
That's
the Singapore version of the metaverse.
Yeah, correct.
Rather than wearing VR headsets and all, we're wearing like eye mask and earplugs.
That is the future we live in. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
cool.
Cool, man.
I was going to say, tell us about your craziest stories of neighborly noise and all that. But I think there are a lot of these kind of stories out there. You just open up Reddit and all, you'll see a lot of them. So I mean, maybe we'll put a link to those stories as well.
Correct.
But yeah, what is your one Shiok comment?
My one Shiok comment is by. Wait, let me pull it up. Oh, my tabs are slow. Okay, it was posted by wait, was it posted by The Clean Tone a day ago. That kind of followed up on a previous topic we talked about, where we talked about how there was this set of dinosaur bones that were about to be auctioned in Hong Kong that was making a stopover in Singapore, and how there was a controversy around it, because this is like a T-Rex, a Tyrannosaurus Rex. It was being auctioned for potentially a private collector. So apparently that auction has been cancelled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we helped. We helped with our discussion about it.
Yeah,
as well.
we were the straw that broke the T-Rex's back. Yeah. So I mean, I think there was also doubts over where parts of it came from. So it's just a bunch of stuff that came together that resulted in the auction being cancelled. But why is my one Shiok comment is because it was a nice update. Like when we talked about it, it was an open case. But for people to remember that, Yalaba talked about it, and then go and post it. Shout out to you, Clinton.
That's cool.
So that is my one Shiok comment.
Yeah, my one Shiok comment is on Reddit as well, as a response to our episode 340 by I am Khairul Lisa. Hi guys, first time commenting. I've never been a Reddit user, but decided to be on board since you guys always promote how great your subreddit community is. So I'm Khairul Lisa says, I've been a Yalabat listener ever since OK Let's Go podcast. Prior to that, didn't know you guys existed. Got to say, starting off listening to Yalabat is a bit tough on the ears in terms of production value as compared to OK Let's Go. Those guys are former radio DJs, so they kind of know a thing or two about the audio space. So, I mean, he basically, but since then he's come to love our podcast, and I think he or she has come to love our podcast and says that Yalabat is my go-to podcast for runs and daily commute to work. So Haresh, what do you say about a comment like that kind of says like, our production value
is a backhanded slap. It's a backhanded. No, what's the thing?
Backhanded compliment.
Backhanded compliment.
Backhanded compliment. Yeah. I mean, I think it's it does say something that we don't sound like regular DJs as well. Right? I won't shy away from that. From the very start of this, we were very conscious and almost like keeping up the idea of the way that we're not like professional radio DJs, and this is not like the radio kind of show, right? We're distancing ourselves from that a lot, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So I guess we've achieved that. Maybe overachieved in that way, such that people are questioning production value as well. But that's cool. Either way, I think what this shows that is that it's the content and the discussion of and I was going to say analysis of the content that matters. No, right? So yeah, shout out to I am Khairul Lisa for becoming a newest member of the Yalabat army.
I think when people listen to other podcasts, where there's like a jingle and like this week on blah blah blah, and then they play a jingle. Ours is like, what's up everybody, welcome to Probably people listening to
how's your wedding going?
Yeah, how's your wedding going? Hey, what's the structure of this podcast? why are they talking about their personal lives? But yeah, like what Terence said, it was a very conscious decision on how we decided to do this. And we're gonna keep it this way for as long as we can. But yeah, that was a funny comment. And and it's nice to know.
But there's actually a part 2. There's a part 2 to this comment as well. In the vein of Yalabat, in the true Yalabat spirit. The part 2 of this comment goes, but
oh yes,
my pet peeve with you guys is that both of you are such Elon Musk fanboys.
Oh, true.
And you know, he's like the savior to humanity for you guys. So I think I am Karul Lisa just goes on to recommend some YouTube videos we should watch about Elon Musk and how you know, he's basically a fraud, right? And you know, but other than that, I'm Karul Lisa loves the podcast, finds that 3 podcasts per week is not enough. But you guys got your own life to live, so I got to be grateful for what I got. So yeah, what's your response to being an Elon Musk stan?
I mean, I do appreciate the work that he has done. But I wouldn't say like I'm a stan like hardcore stan. I think I'm a bigger Ronaldo fanboy than Elon Musk. But yeah, I mean, maybe it is worth that we really go do a deep dive into Elon Musk's history. Because everything we see right now is based on like what we see in media and what we try to listen to or understand. But I don't know, like Elon Musk stan. I don't think I'm an Elon Musk stan, but maybe it sounds like that.
Yeah, I think if anything, we have been talking a lot about Twitter as well, because like everyone else, we've been quite shocked by, you know, the layers that you can uncover about the billionaire elite and the whole boys club that they're running up there, right? And Elon Musk is probably embodies a lot of that, So, in a sense that we're also grappling with a lot of these new revelations about who Elon Musk is and what his priorities are. So, you know, it's not necessarily that we are standing him because we're talking a lot about him, right? It's more like we're uncovering that actually there's a lot more to him than what we knew before,
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go so far to say where I stand. In fact, if anything, I think a lot of the things he's doing with Twitter is running the company to the ground, and I'm just, you know, waiting to see what happens on the whole thing. But at the same time, I won't deny that because of his background with Tesla and SpaceX and everything, you kind of got to like, okay, I did think, okay, maybe he has a shot at remaking social media slightly, right?
But Terence, no need to defend, Terence.
Balancing those two emotions.
No need to defend.
What?
It's okay, man. It's okay, bro.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. There's this like it's like the Ronaldo thing as well. You know, I started out thinking there's no way I would can support Ronaldo's actions throughout this whole thing. But actually, after watching the interview, I'm like, okay, I think I'm actually on Ronaldo's side. Not in the sense that I support his unprofessional behavior. Behavior is not great, but him as a person, him trying to do what he's trying to do for himself and his family and all that, I actually understand that side of things, and it makes me maybe endears him to myself a bit more.
Wow, that is opening up a whole can of worms that I'm sure a lot of people would have a say on. But that shall be for another time. Another time. And what about?
Yes. And what is your one Shiok thing?
My one Shiok thing is that yesterday there was another trailer launched for Avatar, The Way of the Water. The Way of Water.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just super excited about this show, and I am also getting a little apprehensive about setting my expectations too high. But I'm just going to enjoy the excitement while I can. I can't wait to watch this.
Enjoy the excitement.
Yeah, just the build up.
Oh, is there a lot of buzz about it going on right now?
I mean, the trailers tend to rack up like millions of views overnight. So I think generally there is excitement, or at least amongst the people who really like the first movie. And for whatever people say about the first movie, I fucking loved it. I watched it twice. So yeah, I'm excited about this. I'm excited about this.
Yeah. But now, the crazy thing is that there won't be the 3D glasses anymore. Will there be?
Oh, that one I don't know actually.
Yeah. When's the last time you watched anything in 3D, right?
Probably Avatar.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I've definitely seen something more recently, but yeah, it's kind of like it's a very different era in which this movie is coming out already.
Yeah, it is.
That's
it
for
is.
sure.
But yeah, it's not as like boom shakalaka as other movies. But I personally am super excited about it, and just watching. And maybe it's also because we are working on an animation show right now. And you see the work that goes into animations and like 3D renders and all. You see this, you're like, oh my god, yeah. But yeah, what about you, man?
Cool. My one, I think as the World Cup's been coming around, I mentioned that I've been watching some videos about Qatar and everything. So in particular, I want to highlight a pretty interesting series of videos. Not a series, like just 2 videos by this YouTuber called Johnny Harris. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but Johnny Harris, according to his, I mean, I never knew of his existence, to be honest. He has over 3 million subscribers, so this is my first time encountering his videos. But in his description, he says he makes videos about maps and many other things. Because what he does for Qatar is he looks at a map of Qatar, and he was really analyzing how like government maps of Qatar and like what exactly is going on in certain like zones that they've demarcated within their own government maps. And apparently it has something to do with the working conditions of foreign workers at the World Cup. I won't spoil it for you all, but it's pretty interesting because the sense I'm getting is that where he comes from is he looks at interesting maps and tries to figure out the story behind an interesting section on the map or something like that. And for the World Cup, he has managed to find something in Qatar that has been quite illuminating, quite interesting. So I will put the link.
So you're not going to give at least a bit of a teaser of what that thing is?
If you're interested to understand a little bit more about the working conditions prior to the World Cup in Qatar, it's worth watching.
But Terence, you're not going to give a tease of what the revelation is. You're going to leave people on the edge of their earbuds, is it?
No, I mean, I think everyone already knows about how like the whole process of Qatar getting the World Cup 2022, and how in 12 years they built 10 stadiums and over 100 hotels in a country where like 95% of the population are foreign people, right? So understanding what we know about even a small country like Singapore, if we were told that we had to build 10 stadiums in Singapore in 10 years or something like that, like the gargantuan amount of work that needs to be done in order to make it happen, kind of tells you like how many people had to be imported and almost worked to death to make it all happen, and so that's that's what you'll hear a lot of in the media already. But what I like about this guy's videos is that he goes a little bit on the ground and has you really understand the perspective from just analyzing the map of Qatar and understanding like what is happening there. Yeah. Yes.
Cool. Awesome.
So cool.
All right. Cool. That's a midweek episode done. Thanks for listening, everybody.